Hey kids, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this nonfiction story about super silk, okay? So things that I want you to remember from the story is that spider silk is stronger than steel. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Spider silk can have 1,000 uses. The problem is that no one has figured out how to produce large quantities of silk, okay? Because it takes several spiders to produce 1 ounce of silk. Just imagine if we needed silk, for like it was a do or die situation, we would have to have billions, trillions of spiders crawling around or in a research center or something to get all the silk that we need. That's kind of scary. What if they get out? I just thought about that. I just foreshadowed. I thought about trillions of spiders getting out of a research center. I don't like spiders. Okay. Anyways, okay. So, thinking beyond the text, scientists will continue to look for new ways to use spider silk. Scientists consider spider silk an amazing substance because it's stronger than steel. People. Spider silk has been useful to people for many years. Someday, scientists will probably figure out how to make large quantities of spider silks, hopefully without having a whole bunch of spiders around. Okay, I I think I have arachnophobia. Okay, I don't like spiders. Like this book, this is freaking me out. Okay, I'm doing this for y'all. Doing this for y'all. Anyways, okay, so the writer's purpose is to tell about the amazing strength of spider silk and to get the reader excited about possible uses of the silk. Okay, the the writer uses photographs, a glossary, and the reader's tools to make and other readers' tools to make the information clear and more interesting. Okay, so the author is really trying to get you to understand this. They're using different text features, tools to get you to understand and be engaged. Okay, so listen up. The message. Every book has a message. Every story has a message, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. So, what do you think the message is? Say it before I say it. Okay, I'm gonna say it. There are amazing substances in nature. Some of these substances can be used to benefit people. So, research on substances like spider silk can yield many benefits to people. So, there's many benefits for this silk, okay? So, let's go ahead and keep going. Think about what you already know about spider silk. Then read the pages on from 2 to 14 of spider silk. Okay, so stop the video, read pages 2 to 14 with a partner. Okay, as you read the pages, think about the main idea of the book, then skim through the book. Notice the headings and find some details that support the writer's main idea. When you finish reading, I want you to talk to your partner. So at this time, I want you to read pages 2 through 14. Okay? Then I want you to talk to your partner, okay, about the main idea of those pages. Go ahead and do that. I'll be waiting. All right, welcome back. So now notice that the writer is not just giving information about spider silk. The writer makes an argument that more research on spider silk is needed because it may help people in the future. The writer explains how how spiders make silk and how strong the silk is. But the best supporter of the argument is that spider silk has many human uses, such as growing new skin for burn victims. Okay, so what human use for spider silk would persuade you to support more research on silk? So stop your video and I want you to turn and talk about that. What would convince you to keep researching spider silk? For one, for me, that growing human skin and helping burn victims, that's enough for me because a lot of people have those injuries, okay? And I had a close friend that, that would benefit from that. So I would definitely support more research. Okay? Go ahead and stop it and then talk about that. I'll be waiting patiently. Okay, so welcome back. The word we're going to study is cooperative. Okay, so look back at your reading and go look at page 10. Okay, page 10. And I want you to talk with, and we'll actually just think about it. What do you think cooperative means? Okay, in this informational book. All right, and I want you to write that in your little notebook that you have. Okay, what does cooperative mean? Okay, remember smaller words and a bigger word. I see cooperate, I see cooperative, I'm thinking cooperation, I'm thinking co-op, co-author. So when I see co, I know co means together with someone. Okay, operate means to do something. So cooperate means to do something with another person. What do you think? Okay. So what do you notice about the words co-op, cooperative? The words are they all start with co. Remember, I mentioned that. And the word part is a syllable by itself. So when you see co at the beginning of a word and it has a long O sound in a syllable by itself, the word part usually means together. Let's see if that gives us a hint about the meaning of the word. Okay, so go ahead and if you need to discuss, no, you don't need to discuss. Let's move on. Okay, so go ahead and turn to page 14. Page 14, spider, page 14. Okay, so we're going to check our fluency. So go ahead and I want you to listen to this paragraph. Then I want you to read the paragraph on your own. And then I want you to read the paragraph with a partner. Okay? Practice your phrasing and your fluency. The future of spider silk. Much of the research into spider silk is done in the medical field. Someday, spider silk may be combined with human skin cells to grow strong new skin for burn victims. Athletes may have their torn ligaments replaced with ligaments made of spider silk. Surgeons may use spider silk thread in surgery. It sounds like science fiction, but it could be the future. Maybe one day soon, sports equipment, military gear, ropes, airbags, parachutes, and other items will be added to the list of uses. Finding enough spider silk for these purposes will continue to be a challenge, but it's a challenge that scientists are working hard to meet. Okay, so I want you practice that yourself, and then I want you to practice with a partner. And I'll see you when you get back for word study. All right, friends, so the principle that we're learning today, or the rule, is some words appear frequently in reading and writing. So notice the tricky parts of them. So these are high frequency words, words that don't necessarily follow spelling rules or rules, so when you try to sound them out, they don't sound right. So one of the words is friend, once, should, and thought. Okay, so all of these have some tricky spellings, okay? So I want you to just go ahead and read these words and use them in a sentence with your partner, and then move on. See you when you get back. Okay, so here's our next book. Our next book is this one, The Heroes of Pea Island. Okay, so this is a narrative nonfiction that recounts the historic events of a rescue at sea in 1896. when the men of the Pea Island Rescue Station risked their lives to save the passengers aboard the E.S. Newman. The men surmounted inconceivable odds to bring out all the passengers to safety. Okay, so what I want you to do is you have a very exciting true story today. Okay, this is Against All Odds series. Okay, so a nonfiction book that is written like a story is called a narrative nonfiction. A narrative is a story. Okay, so in the book, this book is a part of the Against All Odds series. Okay, so this series is about a group of men who did something very difficult and very dangerous. They saved 9 people who were on a ship in the ocean during the worst storm in 50 years. The ship was stuck on a sandbar, which is a big hill of sand under the water. Being stuck on the sandbar is like being stuck in mud. The ship couldn't move. The waves were pounding, and the ship and the lifeboat was ripped away. The ship was breaking apart, and the people were about to drown. Okay? Read the back cover of the book and then share what you're thinking. So, The Call of Duty. In October 1896, in the middle of the worst storm in 50 years, a small group of brave men did their duty by taking on an impossible task. They risked their own lives and saved 9 people from certain death. So, what are you thinking about that? Okay, on the cover you will see the men who were on duty at the Pea Island Rescue Station. They were a trained rescue crew of the life-saving service. The Pea Island Rescue Station was set up along the dangerous coast of North Carolina in the United States. This coast is so dangerous that hundreds of ships have been wrecked there. High winds and strong tides can smash a ship to pieces on hidden rocks. This area is called the Graveyard of the Atlantic. So this is on page 4. That's the Graveyard of the Atlantic. And graveyard is where people go when they pass away. So that's what they're calling this area. Okay? In 1896, a hurricane slammed into the coast of North Carolina. What do you think about hurricanes? We did talk about Hurricane Katrina also. So what do you think about that? Okay. In the first section of the book, the writer gives you some background information and describes the setting of the story. Then the story of the ship, the E.S. Newman, begins on page 5. So turn to page 2 and look at the photograph. Okay, go ahead and look at that photograph. That's the actual ship after it was wrecked. See how it is resting on a sandbar? You see that? It's kind of yeah. The sandbar is kind of underneath the water, but it's stuck there, okay? So remember that these events took place in 1896. Look at the sidebar on page 5, and you can see an illustration of the 3-masted ship. Point out the masts and the sails, okay, when you're looking. So this is page 5. Okay, and I want you to point these out. The mast, the sails. Okay. These ships didn't have the equipment that modern ships have, and they didn't. Modern ships have. I lost my place. Sorry. These ships didn't have the equipment that modern ships have, and they didn't have instruments to communicate a distress signal. You'll read what the sailors did. Okay, you'll find out that the captain of the ship signaled to the rescue team that they were in trouble. Go to pages 8 and 9. Then there's the watchtower and the 7 men who were on duty during the hurricane. One man, Theodore Minkins, saw a red light through the wind and rain. That's how the rescue team knew a ship was in trouble. The waves were so high that the rescue team couldn't use a lifeboat to reach the stranded ship. Instead, they loaded their gear, that's their equipment, on carts pulled by mules and battled their way down the beach. As you read, think about why the writer of this book calls these men heroes, even though they were not recognized as such at that time. So I want you to go ahead and read this from beginning to end, okay? But listen up. I want you to be writing notes on why does the writer call these men heroes? The meaning of the medal awarded to the men says it all, okay? Given to the people who attempted to rescue in the water at extreme peril and risk their lives. Okay, so extreme peril means it was probably a really dangerous time. Okay, so I want you to write notes about why the writer calls them heroes. Okay, and I want you to be thinking, do you think it was important to recognize the men even though it was 100 years later? Why or why not? I want you to take notes on that, okay? While you're reading, I want you to listen, okay? Because every story has a message, and you have to think when you read. So when you're thinking within the text, you think about in October 1896, a terrible storm slammed into the coast of North Carolina. The E.S. Newman hit a sandbar and was stuck. In spite of all the raging storms, the men at the Pea Island Rescue Station managed to save all the ship's passengers. It took 100 years for the rescue team to be recognized for their bravery. So some of them are probably not even alive, but their grandchildren are alive, and their children might be alive, and their great-grandchildren. So I think it does matter. Okay, so thinking beyond the text, so you got to think outside the box. The men of the Pea Island Rescue Station had great courage. Okay, the passengers on the E.S. Newman were lucky to be saved from that shipwreck, right? If Theodore Minkins hadn't risked his life to be in the watchtower, the wreck would have gone unnoticed. No one would know that that ship had sunk there. The rescue team's hard work and training easily paid off, okay? So listen, thinking within the text, you got to think about what the writer is talking about, thinking about the text. So the writer uses descriptive language to build suspense. So he's describing everything that's going on so that you can create that mental picture, okay? The illustrations help the reader better understand the historical context and events in the story, okay? And also, by explaining the 3 mast ships, the writer makes it easy for the reader to understand what the E.S. Newman was like. All right? So what's the message? Are you going to say it before I say it? All right. Believing that we can succeed in perilous situations can push us beyond our limits. So believing that you can do it, even if it seems impossible, it can help you and it can push you through. Often just by doing their jobs, people become heroes, like that passenger pigeon or these men. Sometimes it takes years for heroes to be recognized for their bravery. And when I talked about the passenger pigeon, that was in this book, and y'all didn't get to read it, I'm sorry, but it's a really good story. Okay, this guy. He's actually on display in a museum because he's so famous. A bird got an award for being a hero. You should read this book. It's good. Okay, anyway, so here's my teaching point to you, okay? So The writer, Alison Blank, knew how this true story turned out. However, she tries to show how dangerous the situation was and how the men. Hello? What the? Okay, there we go. Sorry, my screen went black. Sorry if I was like looking goofy. Okay, so the writer knew what was going on, but she wanted you to be in suspense. Okay, um, so she knew how dangerous the situation was and how the men had to make a decision. So look at page 11, and I want you to write on your sticky note, what decision does the writer reveal in page 11? And can you identify the sentence that reveals this decision? I want you to write it on your sticky note and glue and stick it to this book. What decision does the writer reveal on page 13? Okay, so I want you to do the same thing. Can you identify the sentence that reveals this decision? Okay, so do that and come back to the video, okay? I'll be waiting. Okay, so now that you're back, a writer of narrative nonfiction has to show the important turning points of a story, very much like fiction, so that the book will be interesting to the reader. Did you find this book interesting? I did. I love stories about heroes and how they risk their lives just doing their job. It's amazing. All right, kiddos. See you later. Make sure you turn all your items in.